All right, so let's start. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. Today is February the 6th, and just starting off with some news, there was a massive earthquake in Turkey, 1,000 kilometers away from where I live at 4:20 in the morning. And you know what? Elon Musk tweeted 4:20 a few days ago, just on his Twitter. He just wrote 4:20. That's it. And the earthquake happened right at 4:20 in the morning. What the F? That's crazy. So over like 70 people have died, unfortunately. My thoughts goes out to their families. And there's hundreds of people that are trapped underneath buildings right now. And I felt it in Turkey as well. Like I woke up because there was debris that was falling on my face. And I didn't understand why or what was going on. I thought that it was just like really windy or something outside. And somehow, I have no idea. I was too sleepy. And then an hour later, I checked my phone like around 5, and then I see my phone blasted with people like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then I realized after I Googled it, there was an earthquake, a huge one, and that's why there was debris falling on my face. And just around the house right now, there's like dirt everywhere because apparently the whole city of Istanbul was shaken as well. And that's crazy that it was a 7.9 Richter scale. So it was a massive freaking earthquake. That is crazy. Second earthquake in 365 days now in 1 year. So anyways, let's move on. Prayers goes out to everybody that's been affected by it. It's never good to know, and it's never pleasant to hear about very bad news in the world because of natural disasters. So right now, Bitcoin is finally correcting. Now, I know a lot of you might be thinking that like, oh no, I don't want Bitcoin to correct. I just want to have a massive rally, and I want it to keep going up and up and up and up and up. But that's not the case for a lot of professionals out there right now. So what we want is we want a major correction. I know you guys don't want to hear that. A lot of people hate hearing that we want it to go down further, but you have to think of it from an investment perspective and an accumulation perspective as well. Nobody is ready for a bull market right now. The accumulation phase, if it actually began already, or if it ended already rather, it would have been way too short. What we need to have is a major correction, in my opinion, still. And that's what I want. So just to give you a brief example, okay? If you were to get into Bitcoin right now and you had $10,000, or to get into crypto, okay? You had $10,000. Just going to move my camera a little bit to the side. And this is your target to invest. You're just like, all right, I'm going to start investing right now. $10,000. And I'm going to, first of all, understand that there's a risk of it dropping much further. So you got to take a step back and say to yourself, I know that there's a chance that it's going to drop further, but getting in now, it ensures that perhaps it may not go lower. We don't know. Because if you take a look at 2017, and also this is the argument, okay, guys? There's no right or wrong right now. And unfortunately, your guess is as good as mine. So unfortunately, based off of history before, if we take a look at how Bitcoin rallied after the weekly MACD, the 2-week MACD crossover, so this is in 2015, which is the exact same equivalent of 2023. 2015 is the year after the bear market. 2019 is the year after the bear market. 2023 is the year after the bear market. So you've got to use history to compare. Sure, the MACD crossed over right there, but what ended up happening is if you zoom in, okay, you got to zoom in really, really close here. You got to zoom in even more. This is where it crossed over, but notice that it only rallied roughly 38%, and then it actually dropped like 50%. So it dropped below the price of where it began to rally. So if you compare that to where we are now, sure, this rally started just like how it did in 2015, but there's still a massive chance for us to hit anywhere, who knows, from 10,000 to 14,000, right? So if you got into a Bitcoin long position now, you got to accept the fact that it might drop lower. I have accepted that fact, hence why I'm already in a 7-figure position for long term, and also with cash on hand to buy more. So I've already established that I'm ready to ride the wave of a major dip, okay? And the reason for that is because I now compare it to 2019. So take a look at 2019. This is the MACD right here where it crossed over. So now we have the opposite scenario, and this is so important to understand. We got the MACD crossover on the 2-week, and then after that, we start a major rally. Back then, we only rallied 38% and then we dropped 50. But here, we actually end up rallying like 250%. And then after that, we end up dropping 73% though. So the reason why I got in is because I don't know if we rally just like how we did in 2019, I don't know if it's going to stop and then drop again or not. But I do know that if it does rally and it keeps going, great. I'm in a wonderful position. But then if it drops further, I also have cash on hand. But notice that in 2019, it never actually fell below the low of the rally. It dipped 78%, but it never came below 100% retracement. Whereas in over here, this one retraced more than 100%. It went to a lower low. So either scenarios, I'm ready to buy more. If we get a lower price than the low where we hit, whatever it is, 14, 15,000, I'm going to buy more. If we end up rallying 300%, great. I'm not going to sell it until it gets to $100,000. That is the target in mind. That is everybody's target. And there's a really high chance that we're going to get there in the next bull market. And then if it dips even further, I'm going to buy near the double bottom range. Wherever it is, like 14, 15K, I'll buy more there. And then if it goes even further, I've accepted the fact that I'm willing to buy even more. And I'm going to ride that huge loss. Let's be real. On 7 figures, if we drop below 14K, I'm probably going to be down like $600,000. But that's all right. I'm willing to accept that, and I'm willing to buy more because I don't want to risk not being in the position. And I completely 100% understand all of the macroeconomic conditions in the world right now that is going to affect and hinder the progress of cryptocurrency rallying to a bull market. Everybody's aware of the arguments with the Fed rate hikes, with the energy crisis, with the war going on, with the housing crisis as well. Yeah, we get all of that. We know that there's a recession that's coming and it's lagging, right? We see this in the charts as well. That's why it's hesitant. But it doesn't mean that Bitcoin may not go completely against traditional markets like how it's done before. Sure, it's very correlated to the S&P 500 and traditional markets, but only to about 70 to 80% from what I've seen professionals and economists say before. So I'm willing to bet on the fact that it may not go it may not go exactly like how the traditional markets are going to go. If it does, that's fine. I'll accept that fact as well, and I'm going to end up buying even more on the dip. So you have to make a decision yourself right now. Like, do I want to get into a position and risk it not being the bottom? But hey, if I did, it's great. But if it goes even lower, right, then you might get a much better price. So let's just say that you got into a position right now with $10,000. So I'm going to allocate, just as an example, 35% to Bitcoin, 16% to Ethereum, and the other 7 coins, they get 49% of the portfolio. So 7% on each coin, okay? So assuming that they all got to their all-time high, which is a reasonable assumption, right? Algorand will probably do some crazy stuff this year, and just assuming they got to their all-time high, and I'm not even talking about getting to new highs. If you put in $10,000 today, you could make like $49,000 at the all-time high, which is an ROI of about 385%. And this is P&L, by the way. This is just profit. So it would be 48,000 plus your 10, what you would have. Are you willing to accept a mediocre profit? Ask yourself that. If you got in right now, first of all, do you believe we're going to eventually have a major bull market in a year or two? I do. I think 2024, around the halving, it's going to skyrocket, or months leading up to the halving, and that'll be the catalyst to eventually start the bull market, leading all the way up to 2025. That's my theory. It's what I believe. I think this is an acceptable profit, right? But if you got only a little bit of money and you want to maximize your profit, I don't think it's wise right now. This is not financial advice. This is just my personal opinion. I don't think it's wise to be in a position right now 100%. Because if you got only $10,000, that's not really a big profit, guys. Like, if you put in, for example, 50% now, you have to weigh the risk. The risk of being in all now and not making the best profit. And then second option would be being in now with 50% of your position and then waiting for another drop. If you did that, you'd be a lot more profitable because, for example, every 40%, if Bitcoin dropped 40%, alts would probably drop anywhere from 60 to 70%. So if Bitcoin dropped only 40%, believe it or not, you would make 3 times more than you would make right now. So instead of $50,000 only, we'll round it up. If a Bitcoin dropped to $14,000, like a 40% drop, you would actually make $150,000 from $10,000 instead of only 50. Isn't that crazy, the difference? So in my opinion, if I had $10,000 to invest, I would probably buy half of my position on this next dip coming up, because there's clearly a dip coming up. Like, Bitcoin's pretty bearish right now, and we're going to get to that as well. So Bitcoin's pretty bearish. On the next dip, I would probably buy 50%, and then I would hold at the other 50% and do this. I would wait for a dip to come, but I understand that it may never come, okay? I'd probably buy 25% near the next bottom. So the next bottom is around $15,000, and then I would try to save 25% for another dip. But that may never happen, right? It may never happen, and you got to be aware of that. And then the other option is to buy 50% now, and then just wait. Just really wait to see what happens. Either a dip is going to come, or you're going to buy on strength. But at least you gave yourself that chance to buy on a lower dip. Does that make sense? You gave yourself a chance to see a lower price, and unfortunately, you didn't catch it because it never happened. But at least you're in 50%, and then now you have to accept the fact that it never dropped, but you got in 50%, and now you've got another 50% to buy on strength. Does that make sense? So you have to really weigh the risk of what is important to you. Like, what's important to you is completely different than what's important to me. How you decide to invest your coins, it's going to be different than the way I do it, because of our risk tolerance, because of the amount of capital, because of the amount of time we've been in the game. So all of this is going to vary. So when you ask the question, like, when is the right time to get into crypto to buy long term, the answer will vary so much because every person's situation is really unique. Myself, I'm more than willing to wait. So I'm holding over 7 figures, and I'm going to buy every 2 weeks. I'm dollar cost averaging. I just bought another $20,000 a few days ago, and I'm going to keep buying more. So every Sunday, I buy about $20,000 of crypto, but on a major dip, I'm going to be adding like 6 figures to it. Because guys, you can't screw around. Like, I'm getting serious about right now. You can't screw around. I'm going to even wear my day trader's hat. Team Philakone. Isn't that cool, guys? My wife designed it. Is that awesome? Do you guys want one? Nope. You can't have one because they're not for sale. So you have to really start to make sacrifices, okay? I've told a lot of my friends, like, you guys need to get into crypto right now. And you know what their excuses are? Their excuses is like, I gotta pay for bills. I don't have money to be set aside. You know, I'm saving up for a vacation. I'm saving up for a car. I'm saving up for a house. It's too complicated. I don't understand any of it. You know what I hear? I just hear bullshit excuses, man. Everybody can drink a little less, shop a little bit less, go out a little bit less, do less, sacrifice more, compromise more. Even if you have to compromise 10 to 20% of the things you're doing right now in terms of expenses, I think everybody can dig deep down in their pocket and save 10% and compromise their lifestyle a little bit. And if you, like, I tell my friends, I'm so frustrated with them because not a single person in Canada is that I know in real life is getting into crypto. Like, they're all too busy drinking, partying, saving up for the next luxury item. Like, for example, some of my friends have a car loan where they pay $1,100 a month for a car loan because they wanted to get some freaking Mercedes luxury car, and they're making like $3,000 a month, literally, and they can't afford to live on their own because they're living at home with their parents because their car's too freaking expensive. And then they're going out, you know, every weekend. They work 9 to 5. So on the Friday, Saturday, they go all out. They go party. They go drink, you know. Then it's like, oh, I worked for 2 weeks really hard. I'm going to spoil myself to a new purse or a new shoe. I'm going to go for dinner with my friends at the end of the week to celebrate our hard work week. It's like, fuck, you're not going to get rich doing that. You're not. You're like spending money on things that are stupid. But you have to think of it now. You probably have about, I'm guessing, 70 weeks left until the bull market starts. And I'm defining it by 2024 halving, Bitcoin halving. 70 weeks. So let's just say that you get paid every 2 weeks. You got 35 paychecks left. Let's just say you make $1,500 a paycheck. If you save 10% of that, you would make $150 a check. I gotta do the math because I'm Asian, but I can't do the math. 150 times 3,000. Or times 35. So you could have over like $5,000. You can like 150 a week that you save is on the low side, or every 2 weeks. Over 35 weeks, that's over $5,000. So just as an example, if you put $5,000 into this Excel spreadsheet, man, like that's still a big amount. This is on the conservative side. If we don't drop lower, 5,000. Like who's gonna give you a 5-to-1 return? Nobody. That 5,000 will turn into $30,000. And if we drop even a little bit lower, like let's just say it dropped a little bit lower, this ROI would, sorry, you guys don't see this. This ROI would skyrocket to probably about $50,000 to $75,000. We're talking from a $5,000 investment, which is very little, right? I'm just saying that everybody can set aside some money and make compromises to actually get into it and to learn about it. So this might be one of the very last chances that you're ever gonna get rich in crypto. After this, good luck, guys. The diminishing returns is too little and it's not gonna happen. Like, I'm not trying to be a financial advisor. Like, don't take it the wrong way. I'm just speaking about life, and the facts about crypto is that a lot of people don't get into it because they're so caught up with what they're doing and the compromises are hard to make. But man, anybody that puts in the effort and starts to learn about investing long term, even with a small amount, it can really start to get the ball rolling. And with the momentum rolling, you can turn something small into something major. 2017 wasn't the only year for you to have made crazy money. There were coins that went 4,000%, 10,000% in 2017. And just like in 2021, there were coins where I like put in like $5,000 or something, like AXS, and it just turned into something stupid. Like Bell, like Phil, like Gala. There were so many coins in 2021 that did like 4,000 to 10,000%. And every bull market's going to be the same. So you got to really start buckling down and start making compromises and start really learning about it as well. Start building that portfolio. So that's just kind of my thoughts about long term. I'm just reading the comments. So anyways, I'm done talking about like about ranting, but it's so important that trading guys and investing, it's not always about technical analysis. Let's just do TA. It's the psychology is so important, man. Like getting into that mindset of being a champion and being disciplined and having focus for long term. Like that's what really sets a bad trader and a bad investor from like a good investor and a profitable trader. So you got to really ask, like, who do you want to be, and do you want to make those sacrifices so you can have an immense reward long term? I think it's worth the sacrifice. Like in 2 years, I'm going to be freaking like swimming in freedom, if you know what I mean. Like we'll have a crazy house, probably going to have like 9 iguanas. My wife loves iguanas, and like 25 dogs and like a farm. You know, so we're going to have a lot of fun. So anyways, back to BTC. Let's get on with this right now. So we take a look at Bitcoin. It's falling, guys. Originally, this is what I thought the pattern was. I thought it was like that. Okay, I genuinely thought it was like this because it just made sense. We had so much support over here. Support. And then here, it looked like a really good channel that was forming. If you have multiple points that intersect and form a resistance or support, you can easily call it a channel. But right here, we see that it falls through and it actually tries to get back in, but it rejects over 8 hours. So that's nasty. So right now, based off of the chandelier exit indicator and the EMAs, we are super bearish. And how do you say that we're bearish? Well, first of all, the chandelier exit indicator was bullish ever since over here, ever since the rally began at 16,000. The 4 hour held, and here's where the bears really start to take control, and the bulls were worried, right where it starts to turn red. So the chandelier exit indicator is an ATR based indicator, average true range, and it measures the volatility, and it gives you a smooth average. So it's a lagging indicator, but nevertheless, it tells you what the volatility is. It's kind of like an EMA, but it measures volatility instead of the price, and it tells you if the volatility has changed. So here, when we see it red for the first time, we see that the volatility has changed. So it's now more so bearish. And here, we got some major bullish volatility. So we ended up going green again. But what you're going to notice is the 4 hour is the most significant time frame. Because not only did the EMA, which is the yellow line, this is the 55 EMA, not only did it hold the whole time, and it bounced here as well, and the bulls were like, yeah, we're rallying. And then they broke out of the negative volatility, the bad volatility indicating going down, broke out here, and then it turned green. And then we're like, yup, 4 hours great, 25K, it's happening. But nope, the bears shut them down. And now we are super bearish because of two major reasons. One, the 4 hour chandelier exit indicator is now red again. So this indicates momentum down. And two, the 55 EMA has finally broken with force to the downside. So these are two major reasons why we're very bearish right now. So the way you take support and resistance is never at a one price, okay? Don't ever do that and be like, yep, this right here is the support. Take the lowest one, 22,279. Don't do that. Take it in the range. Draw a box instead and take a range. I like to take a range kind of like looking at the average of where wicks and bodies are. So to me, a good support right now, it's coming up soon. It's probably somewhere between 22,300, or basically the low of this candle there, right there if you see it, and also kind of just the average around here. So we're reaching a support so soon, which means that if Bitcoin ends up bouncing there, even like 3%, for example, like over here it'll have been 77% drop, and down here would have been 8% drop. If Bitcoin even rallies like 3% when it hits around here, the alts are going to go like 5, 10, 15%, because the alts have something called a higher beta. And what a beta is it refers to how much it's going to move compared to the standard. So the standard would be Bitcoin, right? So alts have a higher beta. So if Bitcoin moves like 2%, the alts are going to be moving at least 2% with more volatility and a multiplying factor. So alts could move at least like say 6% if Bitcoin moves 2%. So because it has a higher beta, that's what you want to rely on. You want to rely on Bitcoin making these moves, small percentages like 2-3%, and then alts will usually be carried with it during these types of correction phases. That's usually how it works. So I'm just going to wait on the sidelines today and see what happens, because it's not a tradable day when Bitcoin is like breaking a key support level, and then you've only got one coin today that's actually even getting on a radar. And the first coin would be MTL. So, but other than that, there's nothing to trade. One thing about MTL, it's weird. Why is there a gap here? Can anybody explain this to me? Why there's a gap there? It's on my phone. It's on different time frames. It's on TradingView. I don't know why there's a gap here. This is so weird. Must be a bug? This is in the futures market. I don't know why. So MTL is like kind of weird right now. And I don't like to trade MTL, guys, because of this. You don't want to look at coins that have done shit like this. See this in the futures market where there's a 30-minute candle that's dropped 20%. See this wick up here that's wicked up 6%. You do not want to trade coins like this, guys. They are so violent that it could cause catastrophe if you trade like that. And right now, I'm only keeping like 2 weeks ago, I withdrew 190,000 or something from my Binance. So I'm only keeping like $36,000 to day trade right now. And I'm not going to risk my money, my $33,000 on MTL to trade. Trust me, it's not a coin I'm going to touch today based off of the history. Every time you see a history like this, like you see a really crappy coin that has stupid wicks, it should spell danger to you. Just because you see it move up 33%, it doesn't mean you should be running there to trade it. You need to take a step back and say to yourself, yes, it's very volatile and it would be nice to make profit, but I also have to acknowledge the risk that comes with these massive volatile coins. Because I assure you 100% that if you talk to 100 successful traders, they would all agree that worrying about the danger is number one priority to minimize your risk, and that it far outweighs the potential profits that you can make. The more you start to worry about how much you could lose, the more you think about how can I protect my capital and how to minimize what I lose, that's when you're going to start growing your account more by having all these different little layers of protection. Now, one layer of protection for me, for example, is avoid crappy coins like this, because based off of the past, I do not want to trade a coin like that. It's kind of like Dogecoin. I'm not going to trade it because it's got a history of being manipulated by Elon Musk, and it can do things like 70% wicks, which we've seen before. And there's no way I'm going to risk my money to try to make some profit just because it's volatile. I think about the dangers, and that's why, like, for example, I showed you guys my P&L for last month. Actually, for my 17 days of trading last month, I was up $74,000 and only down $3,000. That's kind of crazy, right? And you get to that level by being careful about the trades that you take. So I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking like, and not even caring about what I say, and you're going to trade it anyways. Kind of like a lot of people in my Discord group. They're like, I don't care about what he says. I'm a better trader than this market, or I can catch this coin. And then you challenge yourself to try to catch these coins, then you might be successful this time or the next time after that. But then there's that one time where like, you don't have a 100% success rate trading these types of coins, and then you just get liquidated. And then you lose a gigantic amount because something unforeseen happens that you can't predict. So wouldn't it be better to just stay away from these kinds of coins rather than having a win rate of like, say, 70% only, but with that 30%, there's major risk of getting fucked? So make sure you're having these different layers of protection so then you can make sure you're profitable long term. Without these layers of protection, trust me, without good risk management, it's impossible to day trade your way up to $1 million. And that only happens when you start to get serious about protecting what you have and having rules in place to avoid shit coins just like this one. So other than that, there's nothing to talk about today other than a major drop by Jasmine, which has dropped actually the most. Now, these coins, no coins have dropped more than, actually no coins have even dropped more than 5% today, except for Jasmine. It took a beating today. And then we got STG that just popped up on the radar. I don't know what's going on there. But other than that, it's a really crappy day. In general, gotta give it some time. You just gotta sit here on the computer and give it some time, and something's gonna pop up on the screener that's possible to trade. But for now, I just see, holy crap, Jasmine. Crazy. 13% drop since midnight. Yeah, this coin, there's no way I'm gonna catch anything here. Oh, the DXDY is on my, mother, father. I was going to wake up and say that it's going to hit the support zone soon. Like right there at the top of this wick. Okay. And it actually ended up hitting it already. So see the top of this wick in November? I was going to wake up today and say, all right, I'm probably going to catch that major support level and go for a bounce. And unfortunately, it actually recovered already 15%. Crap. I wasn't watching it yesterday probably. And then they made this gigantic trend line here that was eventually going to break. So take a look. So you have to keep coins on your radar and watch it long term. So for example, this coin here has been trending for like 3 days. So you got to have those coins on your watch list. This way you say to yourself, all right, see, notice how I have a consolidating watch list here section, consolidating. So I've got DXDY here because I'm checking out for their consolidation. And then I noticed there was a support here, but I just didn't catch it yesterday probably because it was Sunday and I wasn't paying attention. So you got to make sure you're following the coins that are on your watch list. So other than that, I'll keep you guys updated today. We've done a morning market scan, talked about Bitcoin. I gave you guys a good lecture about just kind of investing, right? And I'll catch you guys later today. So thank you very much for joining me. I don't want to make it much longer than it is already. So have yourselves a great day. Actually, I'm going to see if you guys have any questions. Pradeep, I'm using MACD. I'm using RSI. I'm using Chandelier Exit Indicator by Everget. I'm using the exponential moving averages, 55, 200, and also 20. And that's it. Not much. So you can see right here what I'm using. Volume, chandelier exit, EMA, 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 and RSI MACD. I'm just going to check out some of the questions that you guys have. Sorry, Anik, I don't take personal requests for your shit coins. No offense, but I've never heard of MDT, so I don't give a shit about it. Okay, well, no questions. That's it. So have yourselves a great day, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me. And other than that, I will see you sometime on Twitter or in the Discord group. Bye now, and thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it. Hit the like button.